What's going on, you beautiful human? You're listening to the Spiritual Show podcast from thespiritualroom.co. This podcast is a space where we blend ancient wisdom with new age teachings around spirituality, awakening, quantum physics, astrology, and more. Join us for weekly episodes where we dive deep into this truth and expand our consciousness as a collective. Hello, you beautiful light being. My name is Danielle Grant, and I'll be your guide on today's spiritual show. Today on our show, I will be giving you the grand welcome to what this podcast will be and how it can serve you in your life and along your spiritual journey. Before we dive into today's episode, here are the monthly updates from the Spiritual Room. This podcast is brought to you by the Spiritual Room. The Spiritual Room is a high vibe container helping you awaken, deepen, and expand your knowledge of the spiritual self. The Spiritual Room is your space to feel supported as you awaken to your highest self as we navigate the energies towards the new earth, an earth of higher consciousness. Every month, the Spiritual Room hosts free and paid offerings to support your spiritual awakening and ascension journey. Head to www.thespiritualroom.co to check out what they have going on this month. For the month of November, the Spiritual Room has the following offerings and events. To learn more and register for any of these, head to thespiritualroom.co/offerings. Our monthly free offering is Buddhism 101, the Buddha's attitude towards worldly knowledge on November 10th, What is Meditation on Wednesday, November 24th, and our paid offering for the month is Understanding Buddhism, the Ultimate Truth on November 20th, and our 2 moon ceremonies, the new moon ceremony on November 4th and the full moon ceremony on November 19th. Head to thespiritualroom.co/offerings to register for these events. Welcome to the Spiritual Show, you beautiful light being. I am so excited to welcome you to this podcast and to help you understand more about why you should listen to this podcast and what you can expect. The cool thing about this is you are listening to this podcast because somehow, some way, you found this. Is this an accident? I think not. The more that you begin to understand about spirituality and energy and quantum physics and what this really is, you begin to understand that nothing is by accident. Everything is in divine time, in divine plan. And you listening to this podcast right now is happening because your highest self, your being energetically has been drawn to the wisdom, the information, and the whole thing that this podcast is about. So that is really exciting, meaning this is also not a big accident. You truly are here listening to this for a reason. And if this is the first time that we are ever meeting, hi, my name is Danielle, and I am one of the hosts of this show. And I'm truly grateful and honored that the universe has brought us together at this current time. At this current time in the world, at the launch of this podcast, which is at the end of 2021, I don't need to explain to you what has been going on in the world for the last couple of years. But what I will explain is that we are in something greater than what we are perceiving it to be. And what I mean by that is what we've recently experienced is a very physical, linear experience of shutdown, of quiet, of disruption, of unease, unknown. And that whole journey is one aspect to us. But beyond that and greater to that, what we're really experiencing is the mass awakening of consciousness. And now more than ever, your highest self, your soul, is seeking wisdom, tools, support, and a collective family to help you navigate this time. Yes, we are in the Great Awakening. If you are new to the understanding of Great Awakening, I'm so excited that you're here. And if you are not new to the understanding of the Great Awakening, I'm so excited that you're here because we get to continue to rise with new information, new tools, and continue to co-create with the world this amazing thing of the mass awakening. One of the things that we can experience, or we are experiencing during a time of the awakening, is it can feel really isolated and really lonely. And that's ultimately why the Spiritual Show podcast exists, because it is a very bizarre human journey to go through when our highest self, our soul, this aspect of us that we can't see, is awakening. Because this journey is really one about oneness. And as you awaken to it, you understand that it's not about anyone else. It's honestly just about you. And it's about the journey that you're here to have. And when we turn inwards into this oneness journey, it will naturally feel very isolated and lonely because our human self is used to being around other people and connecting with other people. But this specific journey that we're talking about and the journey that you're here to experience on planet Earth is honestly just about you. And at times that can trip up our ego mind, our human self, in thinking that it's very lonely and that something's wrong and that we're the crazy ones. but we're not. And so this podcast is really here to help you not only expand your understanding of what spirituality is, but also to help you feel like you're not alone. Because that is one of the greatest things that we have to move beyond, is this idea that it's okay to be alone. It's okay to be one, because that's ultimately the truth of who we are. But without that energy around us supporting that understanding that it's okay to be alone, it can be very difficult for us to continue to navigate or continue to ascend into our highest self. And so that is what this podcast is all about. On this podcast, we are going to be diving into so many different topics. And in front of me right now, I have over 51 different topics that you're going to find on this podcast. Now, there's going to be so many more topics rather than this 50 because, well, really it's infinite, and that's what is the truth of it. But within each of these topics and categories that I'm about to share with you, there's so many more little micro and subcategories that we can talk about. And so some of the categories that you can categorize, some of the topics and things that we're going to be discussing on this podcast that are going to help facilitate this understanding of that you're not alone, and that it's about being expansive, and it's about awakening to higher wisdom. These topics are going to be able to allow you to feel like you're not alone, because a lot of this information that's in these topics is not oneness. It's very dimensional, and it's about something greater than what we really are on physical earth. So some of the topics and categories that you're going to find on this podcast are manifestation, shadow work, the new moons, the full moons. We're going to be talking about conscious parenting, the chakras, the auras, meditations, sacred symbols, universal laws, how to connect with our spirit guides, understanding quantum physics, understanding how to clear the energy that's in your life, not only within yourself, but also within your physical reality, at your house, at work. We're going to be talking about healing, and we're going to be talking about religion and what it is not. Breath work. We're going to be talking about the Akashic records. We're going to be really understanding astrology and how it impacts our life. We're going to be talking about the reason why you consistently see angel numbers. Angel numbers are the 1111 that you see, the 555. We're going to be talking about sound healing. We're going to be talking about dream states. I'm going to help you understand the third eye. We're going to be talking about expanding the understanding of anxiety and depression and why we experience it. Law of attraction. We're going to expand your understanding of enlightenment. We're going to talk about self-love and self-care. We're going to be talking about light language, light codes. And ultimately, we're obviously going to be very rooted in Buddha and Buddhism, which is not a religion. It's an understanding of higher consciousness. We're going to be talking about tarot and oracle cards and why they exist in our life. And lastly, we're also going to be talking about the entities that are beyond us, like the Palladians and the Lemurians. So those are just a few of the topics and categories that we're going to be talking about on this podcast, and we cannot wait to share them with you, because it's this kind of information that's going to allow you to not feel alone, not feel crazy, and ultimately to actually awaken and ascend into what you're here to do and be, which is to awaken your soul. You're not a human being having a human experience. You're a spiritual being having a human experience. And you're here to actually awaken beyond the human self. And all of those topics and categories that I just shared with you are the understanding and the wisdom that's going to actually facilitate and allow that to happen while you navigate this human experience. Something you may or may not know as well is that you were actually tasked with an assignment when you came into this human reality, into this physical reality. And now I want to share with you what that assignment was. So the first thing was, your assignment is you will receive a body. You may like it or not, but it will be yours for the entire period this lifetime around and all the other reincarnations and lifetimes that you are going to live. The second part of your assignment is that you are here to learn lessons. You are enrolled in a full-time informal school called Life. And every single day in the school, you will have the opportunity to learn lessons. You may like the lessons or you think them irrelevant and stupid. But regardless, you're here to learn lessons. The third part of your assignment is that there are no mistakes. There are only lessons. Growth is a process of trial and error, experimentation, and the failed experiments are as much a part of the process as the experiment that ultimately works. There are never ever lessons. There are just opportunities for us to see something from a different perspective, a higher perspective, allowing our future reality to shift in a different way. The fourth part of your assignment is, and this is probably one that most of us don't enjoy and we are aware of, is a lesson is repeated until it is learned. A lesson will be presented to you in various forms until you have learned it. Then you can go on to the next lesson. How many times in your life have you experienced constantly the same thing happening over and over again? Maybe it's in a relationship, the same kind of experience. Maybe it's the same kind of experience in a job. Maybe it's just an experience of your health. We will continue to repeat the lessons that we need to learn until we have learned them. And like I said, this is one of the hardest ones for us because our ego does not ever want to move beyond the state that it's in. And when we open up our awareness and our understanding of a higher place or a lesson that's learned, we actually move beyond that space, leaving us with that lesson learned. The fifth part is the learning lessons do not ever end. If you did have them end, you would be dead. And there is no part of life that does not contain a lesson. If you are alive, then there are lessons to be learned. And they're not always negative. Sometimes they're positive lessons. Maybe they're a lesson in doing something really great and you should be doing more of that. It's not always negative. The sixth part of your assignment is there is no better than here, than now, the present. Because when you are there, you are not here. You will simply obtain another there that will again look better than the here. There is no better place than the present moment. Mindfulness is on a rise for a reason, because we have lived for eons in this reality of the past and the future, but we are awakening to living in the now, in the present moment. The seventh part of your assignment is others are merely mirrors of you. Now, I personally, when I awoken to this understanding of everyone around me is a mirror to me, I began to transform and elevate my life in a faster way than I'd ever experienced. You cannot love or hate something about another person unless it reflects to you something you love or hate about yourself. When you take a step back and you start to see every experience and every person and every conversation, everything that's happening to you is merely a reflection of what you internally hold to be true. You begin to see your reality through a different lens. But more than that, you begin to see the aspects of you that you need to shift because you are seeing them in other people and you don't like them. When you're judging somebody, you're not judging somebody. You're actually judging that aspect of yourself. And when you awaken to that awareness of that mirror being reflected back to you, you now have the opportunity to move beyond it. The eighth part of your assignment is what you make of your life is up to you. You have all the tools and resources you need, but what you do with them is up to you. The choice is yours. Do you choose to look at the reflection of the mirror of the aspect of you within everyone else? Do you choose to live in the present moment, or do you choose to live in the past and the future? Do you choose to look at the lesson or the thing that's in front of you and seeing it for everything that it is? The choice is yours. It's not your teachers. It's not your parents. It's not God's. It's not the religions. The choice is up to you. And that assignment of understanding that it's you, it's your highest self that gets to make the decisions is so, so empowering and can change the game for you. The ninth part of your assignment as a spiritual being having a human experience is the answers lie inside of you. And specifically on the Spiritual Show podcast, this is helping you awaken and become more enlightened and understand the answers are within you. But more than that, understanding that those answers that are within you are of infinite intelligence or of source. The answer to life's questions are always inside of you. All you need to do is look, listen, and trust. And those are three of the hardest things for our human self, our ego self, to do. And the last part of your assignment on planet Earth in this lifetime and all of your other lifetimes is whether you think you can or you can't. In either case, you'll be right. And that assignment is rooted in understanding vibration and frequency and understanding that we truly create our reality with what we believe to be true. So now think about that. I'm going to go ahead and repeat this assignment that you've been tasked with as a spiritual being having a human experience. 1, you will receive a body. 2, you will learn lessons. 3, there are no mistakes, only lessons. 4, a lesson is repeated until it is learned. 5, learning lessons does not ever end. Number 6, there is no better than here, than now in the present. Number 7, others are merely mirrors of you. Number 8, what you make up of your life is up to you. Number 9, the answers lie within you. And number 10, whether you think you can or you can't, in either case, you'll be right. I wanted to share that assignment that you've been gifted with, because when you see what your actual assignment is on planet Earth, it's not about having the materialistic things and having all the money and having the best relationship or whatever it is that you think that you're here to do. It's truly about understanding that this journey is about you, is about oneness, is about turning inwards. And when you begin to live in this place and begin to choose to see things as the mirrors or the lessons, you will see your life radically change. And it's not because all of a sudden it just happened. It is happening because you are awakening to a higher understanding, a higher assignment that you have been gifted with, and that you are not just a human being having a human experience. You are a spiritual being who has an assignment to understand these aspects of you and what you're here to experience. And when you begin to live in those aspects, you start to change. And you don't live unhappy. You don't live in a non-joyful state. You begin to live within peace and joy and abundance and happiness and love and everything that you truly desire, thinking all of those materialistic things are going to give that to you, to only find out that none of those things actually give you that. But what is really giving it to you is understanding the assignment that you're here to experience. And so on this podcast, we're going to be helping you complete your assignment. We're going to help you understand the assignment that you've been gifted with to its fullest capacity through all of the different wisdoms and understandings, ancient, new age, that are going to help you navigate beyond this unfulfilled human experience, unfulfilled assignment that you may have been living right now. And it doesn't matter what state you're in. You could be someone who's just awakening to this, or you could be someone who has been involved in the spiritual community and awakening for a long time. Our assignments don't end. And we're always on the quest. Our highest self, our conscious self, is always on the quest to learn that lesson that we haven't learned, to see that aspect of us within someone else. It doesn't ever end. So don't ever think that it's going to end. And that is why I want you to come back to this podcast. We want you to come back to this podcast so that you can continue to move along your spiritual assignment that you have been gifted with. And a lot of that is going to come through the wisdom that we're going to share with you on the Spiritual Show podcast. Now I want to share with you how this podcast is going to look. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we will be releasing a new episode. There are no set topics or categories that will be released. What I mean by that is it's not this every Tuesday is this episode and every Thursday is this topic. It's just every Tuesday and Thursday we're going to be releasing episodes. And as I mentioned in the previous part of this podcast, there are many different topics and categories that we're going to be talking about. But this ultimately is a co-creation with the universe, sharing whatever the host who is hosting that show feels called to share. And as you begin this journey, you will know that that is the information that is to be shared, because there is no right or wrong way. There is just what is. And if that is what's being shared on Tuesday or Thursday, then that is what is meant to be shared. We will also be featuring many different souls, sharing the higher wisdom that they have come to understand and experience. And this will allow the podcast to be a true container of higher wisdom through different perspectives and help us achieve a true dimensional experience. If you're someone who you would like to be a host on the show and you have an experience that you want to share, or you have a deeper wisdom that you have become an expert in, or not even an expert, because what does expert even mean? But someone who is really passionate about a certain topic and you feel really called to share it, reach out to us at support@thespiritualroom.co and let us know that you want to be on the show. That is going to help us continue to build out this high vibrational container and this dimensional experience that we want the podcast to have. We're also aiming to have each episode be between 20 and 30 minutes long. We understand that everyone is busy in this day-to-day life. However, we would encourage you to find more time for yourself, but we want to make sure that you are able to digest these episodes in a timely manner. So you can expect that each episode will be between 20 and 30 minutes long, and we really are going to hold true to that. One of the other things that you're going to really experience on this podcast is a feeling and a shift in your vibration and frequency as you listen. And this is going to happen because this is the very essence of Source and the universe, is bringing higher wisdom to you, allowing you to shift your vibration and frequency, which we are going to be talking more about that topic, helping you understand it more. But as you begin to listen to this podcast, you will feel that shift. But I will tell you that one of the things that you're also going to experience is this feeling like you have no idea what's going on, or that you're confused and that you've lost control and you're extremely alone. This is completely normal. It can be very intimidating to our human self to feel like we are lost or we're confused or this is like out there information. And that is actually a really healthy place to be in and not a place that should be feared, rather a place that you want to be in. And so as you listen to this podcast, you may find yourself in that state or that place, and that is completely normal. Everything is happening exactly how it should be, and just continue to navigate the spiritual journey that you're on and continue to plug into these podcast episodes so that we can support you and allow you to find that next connection point of not feeling like you're confused and not feeling like you have no control and not feeling like you have no idea what is going on. To help you get the most out of this podcast, we encourage you to subscribe on your favorite platform. We are on all the major podcast platforms as well. We are on YouTube at The Spiritual Show. And don't forget to turn on the notifications to be notified when we publish a new episode. And we encourage you to be fully present to each episode and take action on the wisdom that's being shared. And as well, share with the community any ahas, higher wisdom, or expanded thoughts that you have as you listen. You can go ahead and do that in the comment section on YouTube or in the review section on the podcast player, or send us an email at hello@thespiritualroom.co and let us know what is coming up for you. As well, we'd love to see you tag us at thespiritualroom.co on Instagram so that we can feature you with the community. And this will help us share the podcast with all the other beautiful souls who are not yet aware of the Spiritual Show podcast. But ultimately, you're going to get the most out of this podcast just by you showing up every Tuesday and every Thursday with an open mind, a present state, and the willingness to take action on the tools or the wisdom that you are learning. That's all we got for today's podcast episode. Thanks for listening to The Spiritual Show with me today. I hope you enjoyed the welcome to the podcast and what you can expect from the show. We are so looking forward to seeing you around here and in the community. And join us on our next episode where I'm going to be discussing the November full moon energies and the upcoming eclipse season and exactly how that might be impacting your life. As always, you can head to thespiritualroom.co to sign up for our weekly spiritual communication email. As well, check out the links and resources we have in today's show notes. That's all for the show, beautiful human. I'll see you next week. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from us, you can follow us on Instagram at thespiritualroom.co and on the blog at thespiritualroom.co/blog. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.